What's happening, everybody? It's your boy Hardcorn, and today we're going to be taking a look at Kichi Azusa. We're going to see what she's like in the first place, and if she's going to be worth your gems or not. Without further ado, let's get started. For starters, she is a human racial and suppressed type. Her background is one of the Onmyoji mages on loan from Goku Academy in Kyoto. Azusa is the captain of the Onmyoji unit there as well. If you don't know what Onmyoji are, the simplest way to put them is that they're mages. More importantly, she has rivals with Rinko and even further rivals with sword style to Rinko, Onmyo Nenryu. Blind from birth but can see due to mind's eye teachings from Kurenai's mother. To my knowledge, she is also in her mid-20s, so for you adult woman lovers out there, well, there you have it. Now we'll take a look at her stats. I'll put them on screen going from 75 to 81 and 87. She has a pretty high increases in each one of her stats, especially critical. From 75 to 81, it's a 124% increase. It is honestly quite incredible. And at 87, all of her stats are all over 6,000. The only character to do this so far, probably the highest stat total thus far. Now we'll move on to the weapons. Azusa shares weapons with Rinko. I understand that if you've been playing forever and a day, or decided to invest heavily into Rinko, your Azusa should be mostly ready. Rinko is mostly carried by Shosu, and Azusa has nothing even close to that. Playing with Azusa, your primary weapon options are arena weapons, butterfly if you have it, Momochi weapon, or using Shosu like an arena weapon, aka a stat stick. Azusa's Gacha signature weapon is primarily oriented towards critting. It's a very common theme with her. So already, high VR climbing as of now with this weapon is a no-go, but it makes low-end farming that much easier. Now we'll move on to costumes. Her default costume in the game with the armor and the flowing robes is probably one of the best that I've ever seen in the game. I love it when characters get armor like this. It looks absolutely fantastic. This is her rival outfit, she shares with Rinko of course. Her desire outfit, Holy Knight Onmyoji. The blind gothic set. The bathrobe. Secret garden. And the tennis playing magistrate herself. She loves hitting balls. Now we go on to her affinity. At level 5 it's AP plus 5. At level 10, AP plus 10. At level 15, it's BP plus 2. And at level 20, it's BP plus 2 as well. Now we're going to move on to the skills. Before we even start talking about that though, there's something I need to explain. I need to explain the concept of input buffering, and I'll put some little clips to show the difference between what it looks like with and without. To define input buffering is when you're able to place inputs for another move inside the animation of another. Azusa has long attacks, but at the end of several of her core attacks, she is able to start the input of another. Now, this is not a new concept in the game at all, and you've probably done this without knowing. Consciously being able to do it though makes Azusa much more fun to play and solves a bit of her problems. A great way to practice input buffering with Azusa is the easy 3-red combo of Shadow Sprint into Gale Slash into Dragonfly. This combo has multiple different inputs and seems cumbersome to do, but it's actually quite simple. The way to see when these skills start accepting input again is to do this. Use the skill with no finishers attached and hold the control stick in a direction. The moment your character starts walking again is when you're able to do inputs. The finisher skills when equipped make your character glow when input is accepted again, but can mess up buffered inputs and dodges as well. So her passive is a 20% innate crit boost. The icon is the same as Kurenai's God's Eye because she learned how to do that from Kurenai's mom. Maybe we'll see her in the future. This concept is written off by high VR climbers due to it being a crit boost in a place where crits almost never happen and do no damage after a certain point. It's a selfish option for a selfish DPS. Maybe in the future we will have more support with this stuff to get rid of, critical resistance and defense up there. We'll see. We'll start off with her triple red skill, Dragonfly Dance. With no set, it is a single slash attack. With full colors, she gets attack bonus, 2 more attacks, and 150% skill damage with armor on the skill usage. one of her best and also more annoying skills. With no 2-set, she does an Iaido quick draw that hits hard and extremely fast. With this set, she does the initial slash, another, and then a finishing stab. During that stab is when you can do inputs. If this misses in any capacity, she will not course correct and you're going to slash at the air. It's very much a gamble. I like taking 1 red for spammability and going into 3 red for VR, since she can have help in holding the enemy down to get off big damage. Having the dodge input makes this a great to input buffer and can be used to buffer into other skills. Now we move on to Gale Slash. This is her long distance gap closer. It's a very spammable skill for when you gotta get back in after making your escape. She'll dive on in and do a big double slash. It's great to get in close. However, the slashes on landing lock her into a long animation rife for getting hit really hard by third parties, but even better to buffer into Dragonfly. This skill provides attack up and enemy slow and is a mainstay of her builds for cramming in as much damage as possible alongside mobility. You just need to have super armor or have some sort of help in form of a distraction. On to Shindara. I like this skill a lot. It looks really cool, really detailed, and even better utility. Though this comes with the lovely caveat of being locked into a long animation. You need to use this skill as the final hit of a combo. The 3-set gives stun, extra attacks, and 250% crit damage with the super armor. The AoE for this skill is huge and completely covers her so she doesn't get hit in the back. The reasoning for the long animation is simple. She shoves the sword into a skull and it projects into the others so she just can't leave the sword in and escape. Another high risk reward skill, but this time you don't need to worry about missing. Now with Bodyguard, this skill lasts for 6 seconds innately and requires a full set to use in constant uptime. With max cooldown reduction, it puts this at 7 seconds and a full color set makes the skill last 8. Even with hybrid colors, it's still going to last a while. It does not give any defense boosts innately, you need 3 greens for those. Though this skill allows for her to use all of her non-tricolor skills without getting interrupted. Incredibly important, but also shares an input with her 81 skill. Gives a strong damage buff, primarily for getting aggressive and in very close. Stay focused so you can hit extreme dodges often to get the immense boost this gives. Now here's Shadow Sprint. To use this skill just requires a main slot effect. It gives attack and defense buffs along with slow in respective colors. Quicker than most skills in the first place, which allows her to get in and out after using it. This also allows her to quickly cut in and start buffering on the second slash of the attack. You don't ever leave home without it since it's high uptime combined with AoE coverage on the second hit. Now here's Vikala. I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the coolest looking skills in the game. Azusa projects clones of herself to attack from ranged and slice the enemy, but it is still considered ranged damage. This is a channeled skill, so she cannot move at all. Nothing will move her for the most part because of having super armor on the skill. The 3-set gives defense up, more clone attacks, and 50% crit rate boost. She truly yields her flesh to claim their bones. Great for clone-centric setups. She can even use her finishing skill to stab some poor idiot in the back after it finishes for an awesome flourish. It's not just a single target attack either. When the clone lands, it makes a large slash so it can hit multiple enemies at once. Now this is her Taimanin art, Shikigami. It speeds up the hits of her attack string and also adds in a slight bleep back on the 4th input to fire off a string of Shikigami. It also increases the hit count a little bit too. This also modifies Double Team. Zetsugi Makora, it's one of the more unique finishers in the game. This targets the furthest enemies from the casting of the skill. It's actually pretty nifty for time attack and targeting extremely far enemies. Being single color boosted, this can fit in hybrid builds or anywhere really. In blue, it has a slow debuff that can be applied very often. She has to stand still to cast this, so being up close and personal and then using this is not recommended. I like using this to clear waves pretty quickly. She'll use one of her big AoE skills, then if it missed something, the finisher will target the enemy and zap them. I do wish this was an escape like Autumn Wind, because it would solve a lot of getting caught issues using this skill. Now here's one of her more famous skills, Mirror Image. There are other skills in the game where a character takes a stance, lets themselves get hit, and heals off of it. This is the first time where you use an instant dodge counter to heal. Mirror Image is where you take a hit, get into the instant dodge animation, and Azusa teleports to the enemy's location. The healing is fixed to 10% of max HP, 20 in green. The rest of the colors are some sort of immobilization, or knockback. There are situations where the damage dealt to activate the skill is much more than you heal. That's mostly in VR and high up in the tower. It's a quick hit and puts her right against the enemy that she was probably trying to escape from. The fixed heal is nice if she was stacking HP, but from an attacking position, it's somewhat annoying. It's a really great skill for input buffering, one of the easier ways to get off the charge for Gale Slash without having to run around. Finally, we've reached Double Team. Her 81 skill is honestly the best thing about her kit. It's a very special clone creation skill similar to Shiranui's. Shiranui's clones will constantly attack and will be modified if you equip Taimanin art. Azusa's does the same, but with a special detail. Azusa casts the clone off an extreme dodge, will throw a projectile where the dodge happened, and this will spawn a clone that taunts enemies in the vicinity, it's about the length of one dash, and will constantly attack. These clones are pretty much the saving grace of her, and are really cool to see in action. They are considered familiars, so they don't do the highest damage, but their utility is incredible. Now let's conclude. Azusa herself, in terms of design, is one of the coolest looking ones to release. It's really great stuff to see in action. Mechanically, she is very rough in solo settings if she doesn't have some sort of utility to save her from getting interrupted, whether that's using her clone skills or the super armor. Due to many of the color signature skills being one hard hit or a couple without any internal boosts, it's very feasible to run her with hybrids or full rainbow build. A common problem I have with her is that the animations lock her for a very long time. There is a silver lining due to the input buffering. In a practical setting, it is tough to do, but you'll be getting it with enough practice. The finisher has its own problems as well, since it locks her in there for a while too. The most immediate answer is using the butterfly weapons and speed up supporters. You sacrifice damage for that in the process. Building for speed lets her complete everything quickly, and all the animations are lightning fast. The weapon itself is very hard to come by, and Azusa doesn't have any sort of speed boosting in her kit naturally. Her supporter options for boosting her speed are within limiteds. It takes strong investment and technical practice to get the most out of her. The weapon pool for Azusa is weak as well, since you can't use Shosu. Her gacha signature weapon is critical based, so high VR teams tend to steer away from it. This leaves tried and true arena weapon to make its appearance, and it certainly does its job. With Azusa having such high critical rate too, Momochi weapon does even better in some situations because all she has to do is crit to keep defense down, and she can do that pretty well with her passive. That idea diminishes in higher VR, where your strongest stat stick takes precedence. I wish Azusa had a transformative ult, because for our Virgil at home character, it seems like they really missed the point that Virgil can also Devil Trigger, which gives him increased damage with super armor. Azusa could really benefit from super armor on command in any capacity. I digress though, since that's just me being a negative Nancy. I absolutely adore her armor, and that she's an actual mage character that isn't just wobble your hands around for 45 seconds reciting incantations. She's a katana medium armor Onyo magic build from Neo, and that's just absolutely rad, though it brings the same problems those builds have as well. I always enjoy a good Christmas costume, but what caught my attention is her gothic dress. If she had a big ol' hat she could wear, she could be Virgilia from Umineko. Also, the tennis outfit she wears. Like, look at her. Like, why are you closing your eyes and laughing, Azusa? That's disrespectful as shit, man. I understand that many over the years have geared up their Rinkos to be in a usable state, though the demand in terms of study and input may be even higher than Rinko in terms of regard to Azusa. Though I'm probably making a mountain out of a molehill like I usually do. The time ticks onward, the soul still burns, and the question remains: is she going to be worth your gems? If you like the Rinko and Azusa lore that has been going on with their rivalry, and even have gear, then you go for it. If you don't have a lot of their gear, don't care about their lore or being characters, or are ready to learn how to be efficient with your inputs, you can skip her. In the future, you can ask about this character's specific limited weapon from players who have it. See if it really does make a change with this character. Until that day, think about your choices. Thank you everyone for stopping by and learning about Azusa. Don't forget to like, comment, rate, favorite, and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you next time. Goodbye everybody.